Hello everyone and welcome back to Smoke Signals. I'm Matt Montgomery along with head football coach Wayne Coleman. Coach, big win last week. It's always good to win the homecoming game. Hallsville came into town, you won 28-13. Your impressions of the ball game overall?
We played well. We've played a lot better on defense, probably our best defensive performance. Hallsville's got a good program, but our kids stepped up and had a good night on defense especially.
Well, the game started off with a bang. Your opening drive, you go down there and you score on the 48-yard touchdown pass to Devin Henry. A great start to the game, and you know a lot of times you have deferred to the second half, but you took the football, and anytime you take the ball, I know it's good to go down there and score. That's why you took it.
Yeah, you want to at least, if you take the ball first, you want to turn field position over, and we had a couple good first downs, got out to midfield until we got the third and long situation, and then Cam High and Devin Henry did a great job on third and long, converting that into a touchdown.
I want to talk about how great your defense played, but first let's talk about your offense. Continued improvement each week, and looking at the statistics, 382 yards of total offense on 55 plays. I mean, when you're averaging almost 7 yards a play, that's impressive. And you really stuck to your mantra that you say we're kind of a run-first team. Of those 382 yards, 258 came on the ground, 124 through the air, and very efficient passing of 7 of 10 for Cam High. But 2/3 rushing, 1/3 passing. I know that's a balance you kind of expect out of your team.
It is. We want to run the ball. We want to control the line of scrimmage. And the big thing for us right now is improving our third down efficiency when we get behind, get behind in the chains. And I think that first touchdown pass was like a 3rd and 12. Later on in the game, we converted some 3rd and 10s. The kids are really stepping it up in the passing game.
Yeah, everybody's catching the ball. 5 different players caught passes the other night, and that's starting to get harder and harder for defenses to focus in on one receiver, because a lot of teams will say, oh, here's the go-to guy we got to cover. But in this case, I mean, especially when you added Ashton Melton last week, who caught a touchdown pass, caught 2 passes. Hard to defend when you're not sure who the go-to guy is just yet.
Well, for sure. In our passing game, there's not one guy you can focus in on. And Cam's doing a great job of just taking what the defense is giving him right now. I think on one of our early third down conversions, the defense actually played it pretty well. We threw the ball short of the chains, but our receiver made a play and ended up getting the first down. So he's just got to keep taking what they give him. And when he does that, there's really not a way to decide on the defensive part what player you want to take away.
I don't want to say it's night and day from last year, but the poise that he has back there seems so much better. And not just him, but the way he's working with his receivers. Several throws the other night were thrown well before the break. The timing's there. And I know 7-on-7 had a lot to do with that this summer.
It did. The kids invested a lot of time in the offseason. And the 7-on-7, like we talked about earlier in the year, is just a situation where you get so many reps. And so now you see some plays being made on Friday night where the timing is coming into play from their 7-on-7 repetitions. And that's a big part of the game, throwing the ball on time and trusting that your receiver is going to be there.
Cam High's had an incredible start to the year running the football. Over 200 yards the first 2 games, 121 the other night. That's not going to happen unless your offensive line's getting it done up front.
They're doing a great job. I mean, they're the unsung heroes. Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to read about Cam in the paper, but our offensive line is really one of the strengths of our team this year, and those guys are doing a super job. So much further ahead of where we were a year ago.
Let's talk about Kenny Kennedy's defense. Your defensive coordinator put together a total effort the other night. I guess the thing that I came away with, Coach, from the ball game is that Hallsville they didn't score an offensive touchdown, and they had 2 first and goals, and they didn't get in the end zone. You held them to field goals.
Yeah, it's funny. We tweaked a little bit of our philosophy on defense. We didn't stunt very much the other night. Played a lot of base defense. It put some of our kids in better positions to make plays. The red zone defense was amazing. We've been doing a lot of good-on-good red zone practice, our number 1-0 against our number 1D. And so that's good for both squads. Our offensive red zone efficiency has been good all year, and now our defensive red zone efficiency is starting to step up.
Of course, with every ball game, even when you get the win, as coaches, I know you guys are looking at film and you're saying, man, we've got to get better right here. I guess a couple of the negatives from the ball game, you had three fumbles, you lost 3 fumbles, which you hadn't done the first 2 ball games. And Hallsville had something to do with that, I'm sure. Now, one of them, as we've talked about, wasn't a fumble. They missed that one. The other thing is return yards on kickoffs. And I know you guys are still trying to get those wrinkles worked out there.
Yeah, it is. You make all these personnel moves trying to get your offense and your defense the pieces in the right place. And we're at that stage now where we're going to have to really start tweaking some of the special teams. And the special teams, for the most part, played a lot better than they did the week before. But right now, our kickoff team, the group we call the Bounty Hunters, they're not getting the bounty. They're not getting down there. And so we actually had some good kickoff practices this week. We've made some personnel moves. We're going to get it fixed.
Well, Jacksonville gets the win over Hallsville, 28-13. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from last week's game at Tomato Bowl. Here's that first drive, Coach, when you took the opening kickoff and went down and bam. Watch this catch right here.
Beautiful ball, a cover 2 beater there down the middle, split the safeties. Devin Henry made a great catch on that one.
Here's Braden Horn coming on the blitz.
Yeah, one of the few times we brought Braden the other night, but he's been very productive on passing situations, blitzing.
And this is what is so frustrating for defenses when they're trying to defend Cam High.
Oh, no doubt. He's very elusive. The route was covered, and Cam just makes something happen with his feet.
I mean, right there you had 5 Hallsville Bobcats. They had him. I mean, he pinned in, and he scoots around the edge, and now everybody's winded. Here's Wuda. Oh, wow.
He's good for one or two of these punishing runs a game. He's a really physical runner.
Now here's that little pass play that you scored on against Palestine a couple of weeks ago with Will Garland.
Yeah, once again, people want to try to load the box on the run, so we've got to make them pay with the good play action there.
And this had to be one of the best routes from Ashton Melton that I've seen all year long. Perfect route, perfect pass.
Yeah, it really was. A nice post corner there by Ashton, and Cam put it right inside the pylon for him.
And here's Flavio putting pressure on.
Flavio had a good game. Our defensive line has really stepped up the last couple weeks.
Physical run here by Cameron High.
Hallsville did a good job of taking away our 20 personnel package, but we had to get in some tackle over there for Cam to make some runs.
And this is a run that got the homecoming crowd really jacked up right here, Woody Johnson.
Yeah, Wuda, everybody loves to watch him make these kind of runs. I just wish he could have got that ball in the end zone. I need him to get a touchdown.
And how about Bacon Watkins? He had a great game the other night.
He did. Like I said, the TNTs on the defense line, they're really starting to step up.
And this was the only carry tonight for D. Spencer, but he made it count.
D won the lottery, boy. All the other 2 running backs that were rotating in there wish they'd have been in on that play.
And here's Jay Sean Bush with a breakout.
Yeah, we had some good pass breakups the other night, especially on the 3rd downs.
And this is one of the fumbles that wasn't a fumble, I think. Was it?
It wasn't. We've actually got a reverse angle for that, and you can see that Q was down on that. And the officials apologized for that later on in the week. They sent us an email and told us that they made a mistake. And that's a good crew. Larry Clemens' crew does a great job, and they're just human. Everybody makes mistakes now and then. I
mean, you watch ball games from high school, college to pro. That's just going to happen. I mean, look at the Central Michigan Oklahoma State game.
Sure. Well, if they would have had replay on that, that wouldn't have been an issue. But in high school ball, the referees don't have that luxury.
Right.
And for the most part, that crew does a really good job. We love having them do our games.
Well, you're 2-1, Coach, and you're headed to Mount Pleasant this week to play the Tigers. A Mount Pleasant team that's kind of struggled the last few years, and this 2016 version, they have some weapons, but they've also struggled trying to score.
They have. They're trying out a lot of different philosophies on offense right now. They're trying to find themselves still. A lot of unbalanced offensive formations mixed in with a little bit of spread. So they're in that stage where they're not really sure what their identity is, and we hope they don't find it against us. Yeah,
it's a road trip, and anytime you take these long road trips, because Mount Pleasant's a pretty good drive up there, you start looking at making sure your kids are focused. I mean, it isn't a game at Jacksonville, even though you have the better record, maybe possibly a stronger team. You don't just walk in there and get those wins like that.
No, you don't. Your kids have got to endure that long trip, and they've got to be ready to play, especially when you're going to go play at someone else's place. You can't. I mean, it's really about about yourselves at this point. You have to be focused on what your job is, and if you take care of your business, good things will happen.
So going into the ball game, a team that in Mount Pleasant that has struggled this year, and you've talked about them trying to find their offensive identity. What do they do, and what do you expect from them? What have they done successfully that you think they'll try to run on you?
They like to run just the old school tailback toss game and lead the quarterback up in there like we did a long time ago with Randy McCowan.
I remember those days.
Yeah, they're trying to run the C-gap toss game, and they're pretty good at it. They've got a couple kids that can run. And it's a kind of a different kind of offense. You don't see that anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of strange for our defensive kids this week to try to get ready for that kind of an attack.
So you have 2 games left in non-district play because Alvarado comes in a week from, actually on Saturday at 2 o'clock. Talk a little bit about the next 2 weeks because you get the break after that before Corsicana comes to town for 17-5A action to start up. What do you want to get accomplished? What do you want to see Jacksonville do better at that they haven't done well in the last 3 games?
Sure. I think, you want to fix everything at once, but it just doesn't work that way. And each week you get exposed in a different part of the game. And last week, 2 weeks ago against Palestine, a lot of our special teams flaws got exposed. We got a bunch of them fixed. This week we've got to fix our kickoff team. We've got to get better at that. So as we go along, there's those things that keep sticking out. Personnel-wise on offense and defense, I think we've got all the kids in the right spot. We've got to try to stay healthy. We're starting to get just a little bit banged up, nothing major, but we don't have everybody at 100% right now. So let's try to stay healthy, and let's try to focus on our weaknesses and get each one of those fixed each week.
Well, each of the 3 games that you've played so far offensively, you scored 31. You scored 40, and then last week 28, and with a 2-1 record. Those are the kind of points that when you score in high school football, you should win the game. And I know that with the defense playing like they did last week, that to me was the biggest. Not necessarily your offense didn't play well; they played great, but the defense to me had the most improvement from 1 and 2 to game 3.
Well, there's no doubt. Kenny Kennedy and his defensive staff, they had a great week of preparation, and the weekend leading up to the Hallsville game, there was a lot of meeting time on how we want to get some things fixed, and they did a great job. We've just installed this defense this year, so we're kind of going through the growing pains with it each week, and each week presents a new challenge from an offensive scheme standpoint. So this week we've got a C-gap toss we've got to stop out of this defense, which we haven't tried to stop before. So each week it's something different, and hopefully you can get all those things. It's such a luxury to have 5 non-district games. Hopefully you can get all those things addressed by the time you get to district.
What will Mount Pleasant do defensively to try to defend your offense?
They run a 3-4 kind of like we do, but they'll switch back into an even front some. They've showed a lot of cover 2, which is hard to play against us on 1st and 2nd down because we run the ball so much. But I think they've shown a tendency to want to blitz their inside linebackers a lot. So we've got to be ready for that. And really each week is just a matter of us having to make offensive adjustments because when you're running the ball as well as we are, there's really no telling what kind of defensive scheme you're going to see.
I really can't imagine going into this ball game, Coach, Mount Pleasant not wanting to try to load the box and try to stop Cam High.
Yeah.
But as we've seen the last couple of weeks with the passing game, that could be tough for them.
Yep, there's no doubt. Right now we're clicking on all cylinders. The game of football is complicated, but then again, it's not complicated. If you put more people in the box than we can block, we have to be able to execute the pass. And so far, we've been able to do that. And the added dimension with Cam High being able to run the option off of it also gives you that extra player that you need when they've got the box loaded. So we've got the scheme and we've got the weapons. We've just got to keep executing right now.
When you put objectives up on the board, keys to the game for this game this week against Mount Pleasant, what are they?
Focus on ourselves. Don't worry about your opponent. Make sure you do your job. Keep getting better at what you do every week. And that goes back to that thing we talk about all the time, focusing on the process. And you have to be ready for your opponent. They're going to do a few different things than what we've seen. But as long as we trust our fundamentals and our process, we'll be okay.
Well, Jacksonville hits the road this week going to Mount Pleasant at Sam Parker Field. We'll be on the air at 7 o'clock on 103.9. And by the way, if you want to listen to the ball games online, anywhere we are, you can. And that address is CityLink tv.com/channel/Jacksonville, and we have that scrolling there on the screen for you. So you can tune us in anywhere. Bring your smartphone, iPad, and pick us up. We'll see kickoff at 7:30, Jacksonville versus Mount Pleasant. Hope to see you there. For head coach Wayne Coleman, I'm Matt Montgomery. We'll see you next time right here on Smoke Signals.